Hello, my friend. I'm really happy you're here tonight. Whether you're listening from your bed, your favorite chair, or somewhere quiet after a long day, I'd like to welcome you. For the next little while, nothing is expected of you. You don't have to answer any emails. You don't have to think about tomorrow's plans. You don't have to solve any problems. Tonight is simply about resting. So if you'd like, take a slow, comfortable breath. There's no special way to do it. Just breathe in gently, and let it go whenever you're ready. That's perfect. If sleep comes before our story is finished, then the story has done exactly what it was meant to do. And if you stay awake for a while, I hope these words feel like sitting beside a warm fireplace while rain falls softly outside. Now, I'd like to tell you about a place that very few people have ever seen. A place that doesn't appear on any map. Not because it's hidden, but because most people never slow down enough to notice it. It's called the Hotel of Sleep. Some people believe it's only a legend. Others insist they spent a night there many years ago. Ask them where it is, though, and they'll smile in the same thoughtful way. I wish I could tell you, they'll say. But somehow, I can't remember the road. It's a strange answer. Yet they all say it. They remember almost everything else. The smell of cinnamon drifting through the halls. The gentle sound of rain tapping against old windows. The warmth of the fireplace. The unbelievably soft bed. The peaceful dreams. But the road leading there always disappears from memory. Perhaps that's because the hotel isn't meant to be searched for. Perhaps it simply finds people when they need it most. And tonight, it has found you. The evening begins with rain. Not the kind of storm that makes you anxious. Not the kind that flashes with violent lightning or shakes the windows. This is gentle rain. Patient rain. The sort of rain that seems to slow the whole world down. You are driving along a quiet country road somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. On both sides of the road, tall evergreen trees stretch toward the cloudy sky. Their branches sway gently whenever a cool breeze passes through the forest. Everything beyond the headlights disappears into soft gray mist. The windshield wipers glide back and forth. Swish, swish, swish. The rhythm is steady, comforting, almost like breathing. You reach forward and lower the volume of the radio. The music fades away until only the rain remains. Somehow, the rain is enough. The warm air inside the car carries the faint scent of coffee from the travel mug resting in the cup holder. Outside, tiny rivers of rainwater wander down the side windows, racing one another before disappearing into the darkness below. You smile without quite knowing why. It has been a busy week. Perhaps even a busy month. The kind of weeks where every day blends into the next. Emails, meetings, traffic, lists of things that always seem to grow longer instead of shorter. For the first time in what feels like forever, there is nowhere you need to be. No clock to watch. No deadline waiting. Just an open road. Rain, and silence. It feels surprisingly nice. The evening begins with rain. Not the kind of storm that makes you anxious. Not the kind that flashes with violent lightning or shakes the windows. This is gentle rain. Patient rain. The sort of rain that seems to slow the whole world down. You are driving along a quiet country road somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. On both sides of the road, tall evergreen trees stretch toward the cloudy sky. Their branches sway gently whenever a cool breeze passes through the forest. Everything beyond the headlights disappears into soft gray mist. The windshield wipers glide back and forth. Swish, swish, swish. The rhythm is steady, comforting, almost like breathing. You reach forward and lower the volume of the radio. The music fades away until only the rain remains. Somehow, the rain is enough. The warm air inside the car carries the faint scent of coffee from the travel mug resting in the cup holder. Outside, tiny rivers of rainwater wander down the side windows, racing one another before disappearing into the darkness below. You smile without quite knowing why. It has been a busy week. Perhaps even a busy month. The kind of weeks where every day blends into the next. Emails, meetings, traffic, lists of things that always seem to grow longer instead of shorter. For the first time in what feels like forever, there is nowhere you need to be. No clock to watch. No deadline waiting. Just an open road. Rain. And silence. It feels surprisingly nice. The forest grows denser as the road gently climbs into the hills. Fog drifts lazily between the trees, wrapping the trunks in pale silver. Every now and then, you catch glimpses of tiny wooden cabins tucked far back among the pines. Warm lights glow from their windows. For just a second, you imagine what it would be like to spend an evening there. A fire burning in the hearth. A thick blanket. A good book. Fresh bread cooling on the kitchen table. Then the road curves again, and the cabins disappear behind the trees. Another distant rumble of thunder rolls across the mountains. It isn't loud. It sounds old. Patient. As though the clouds are settling themselves in for a long night's rest. You roll your window down just an inch. Cool air slips inside. It smells wonderfully clean. Wet earth. Pine needles. Fresh rain. Some scents instantly remind us that we're alive. This is one of them. After a few moments, you roll the window back up and continue driving. The road becomes narrower now. Older. The faded white lines down the center have almost disappeared. The pavement isn't perfect anymore. Yet somehow, that only adds to its charm. This feels like a road built long before anyone was in a hurry. About 20 minutes later, you notice something unusual. A wooden sign stands beside the road. It's small enough that most drivers would probably pass it without seeing. The letters are carved by hand. Simple. Elegant. It reads, Scenic Route. An arrow points toward a smaller road disappearing into the forest. Normally, you would keep driving. Normally, curiosity wouldn't be enough. But tonight, something about the quiet little sign feels inviting. You slow the car. Signal. turn the wheel, and leave the main road behind. Almost immediately, everything changes. The forest grows quieter. The trees stand closer together. Rain taps gently against the roof of the car, sounding softer beneath the shelter of the tall pines. The road twists slowly through the hills. No traffic. No power lines. No houses. Only forest. It feels almost impossible that a place like this still exists. After another 10 peaceful minutes, you begin to wonder whether you've made a mistake. Perhaps the road leads nowhere. Perhaps you'll simply have to turn around. Then, far ahead, a warm golden light appears between the trees. At first, you think it's another cabin. But the light grows larger, brighter, more welcoming. Another bend in the road reveals something entirely unexpected. A beautiful old hotel sits quietly in the middle of the forest. Its windows glow with warm amber light, reflecting softly across the rain-soaked driveway. The building isn't grand in the way luxury hotels often are. Instead, it feels timeless, comfortable, as though it has spent decades patiently waiting for tired travelers to arrive. Wide wooden porches wrap around the building. Window boxes overflow with lavender and white flowers despite the rain. Copper lanterns burn beside the entrance, their light dancing gently across the wet stone path. There isn't another car in sight. No crowds. No noise. Only rain. And warm light. You park beneath an old maple tree. For a moment, you simply sit there with the engine still running, looking at the hotel, listening to the rain. Something about this place feels strangely familiar. Not because you've been here before, but because it feels exactly like somewhere you've dreamed about. You switch off the engine. Silence fills the car. Without the gentle hum of the motor, the rain suddenly seems even softer. You take your coat from the passenger seat, step outside, and immediately hear the peaceful rhythm of raindrops falling onto the wide porch roof. The cool evening air wraps around you like a refreshing blanket. You breathe deeply. The scent of pine trees mixes with lavender growing beside the stone walkway. Somewhere nearby, a wind chime sings a single quiet note before becoming still again. You smile. Not because anything extraordinary has happened, but because, for the first time in a very long while, you feel completely unhurried. Ahead of you, warm light spills through the hotel's tall windows. Someone inside has already lit the fireplace. And although you have never visited this place before, somehow, it already feels like coming home. For another quiet moment, you simply stand beneath the porch roof, listening. The rain has a different sound here. Out on the road, it had fallen against your windshield with a steady rhythm, carried along by the wind. Here, beneath the wide wooden porch, every drop seems gentler. Some tap softly against the roof overhead. Others fall from the edge of the gutters into little puddles below. Somewhere nearby, water trickles through smooth stones before disappearing into the garden. The sounds overlap so naturally that they almost become music. Not a melody anyone composed. Just nature, taking its time. You brush a few raindrops from your coat and look up at the building again. The hotel feels wonderfully lived in. The wooden beams have softened with age. The stone chimney has probably stood through hundreds of winters. Flower boxes line every window, overflowing with lavender, rosemary, and tiny white blossoms whose names you don't know. Even in the rain, they seem full of life. Warm light spills through lace curtains. Behind one window, you think you see someone reading beside a fireplace. Behind another, someone gently rocks in an old wooden chair. No one appears to be in any hurry. No televisions flicker. No phones glow in anyone's hands. Only people enjoying a peaceful evening while the rain quietly does what rain has always done. You walk toward the front door. It is made of dark oak, polished smooth by countless hands over many years. At its center is a round brass handle that reflects the soft porch light. Before reaching for it, you notice something small beside the frame. A little wooden plaque. The letters are neatly carved. They read, "Leave your worries outside. We'll keep them safe until morning." You smile. It's such a simple sentence. Yet somehow it feels exactly right. Without thinking, you take one slow breath. You picture every unfinished task. Every conversation that didn't go quite the way you hoped. Every little worry that followed you through the week. And for just tonight, you imagine placing them gently beside the door. They'll still be there tomorrow if you need them. But they don't need to come inside. You wrap your fingers around the cool brass handle. The door opens without a sound. A tiny brass bell above it gives one soft chime. Not loud enough to interrupt the silence. Only enough to say, "Welcome." Warm air immediately greets you. It carries the comforting scent of fresh bread, cinnamon, cedar wood, old books, and something sweet you can't quite identify. Perhaps vanilla. Perhaps honey. Or perhaps every happy kitchen you've ever known somehow gathered into one beautiful fragrance. You close the door quietly behind you. The rain continues outside, now softened into a peaceful whisper beyond the windows. Inside, everything feels wonderfully still. The lobby is larger than you expected. A stone fireplace stretches nearly to the ceiling. Gentle flames dance across carefully stacked logs, filling the room with soft amber light. Several comfortable armchairs are arranged around the fire. Some are occupied. An elderly gentleman slowly turns the pages of a thick novel. Across from him, a young woman sits knitting a long blue scarf. Near the window, a couple quietly play a game of chess. No one speaks. Yet the silence doesn't feel awkward. It feels shared. Comfortable. Like everyone understands that evenings are meant to become quieter as night approaches. A large grandfather clock stands near the staircase. Instead of ticking sharply, it seems to breathe. Its pendulum swings slowly. Left. Right. Left. Right. Each movement somehow encourages your own breathing to slow with it. Bookshelves stretch along one wall. Hundreds of books wait patiently. Some look brand new. Others are so old that their leather covers have become beautifully worn. There are no signs telling guests to keep quiet. There is no need. The hotel itself seems to invite softness. A crackle from the fireplace catches your attention. You step closer, holding your hands toward the warmth. The fire doesn't roar. It simply glows. Every now and then a tiny spark rises before disappearing into the chimney. The scent of cedar fills the room. It reminds you of cozy cabins, autumn afternoons, and peaceful weekends that always seem to pass too quickly. She wears a deep green cardigan over a simple cream blouse. Round glasses rest comfortably on her nose, and her smile reaches her eyes before it reaches her lips. She doesn't ask if you have a reservation. She doesn't ask your name. Instead, she says, "I was beginning to wonder when the rain would bring you." There's something so warm about the way she says it that you can't help smiling back. "I'm glad I made it," you reply. "So am I." She nods as though the answer was exactly what she expected. "I imagine the drive was peaceful tonight." It really was. The forest likes evenings like this. She says it almost as if the forest were an old friend. The rain helps everyone slow down. She reaches beneath the desk and places a small brass key on the polished wood. Unlike modern hotel key cards, this one feels pleasantly heavy. Attached to it is a smooth wooden tag. Instead of a room number, only a tiny crescent moon has been carved into its surface. You turn it over. Nothing else is written. "I'm sorry," you say with a quiet laugh. "I think the room number rubbed off." "Oh," she smiles. "It isn't missing." You look at her curiously. "There aren't numbers here." "No numbers." She gently shakes her head. The rooms choose their guests. For a second, you wonder if she's joking. But her expression remains calm and sincere. "Simply carry the key upstairs," she says. "When you reach the room meant for you." She pauses with a kind smile. "You'll know." Before you can ask another question, she gestures toward a long wooden table beside the fireplace. "There will be hot tea whenever you feel like it." You glance over. A beautiful porcelain teapot rests beside several handmade mugs. Steam curls lazily into the air. Small plates hold fresh biscuits, slices of warm apple cake, and little jars of golden honey. "No charge?" you ask. She laughs softly. "My dear, the best things in this hotel never appear on a bill." The answer makes you laugh too. You pour yourself a mug of tea. It smells of chamomile, lavender, and a hint of orange peel. The warmth spreads through your hands immediately. You carry it toward one of the large windows overlooking the gardens. Outside, lanterns glow along winding stone paths. Rain falls gently over flower beds and quiet benches. Tiny droplets shimmer in the lantern light like scattered stars. Everything beyond the garden fades into the dark forest. Yet instead of feeling isolated, the hotel feels protected, as though the surrounding trees have gathered together simply to keep this peaceful place hidden from the noisy world. You take another slow sip of tea. It's wonderfully soothing. Warm enough to comfort. Cool enough to enjoy immediately. You don't remember the last time you allowed yourself to stand still for this long. No phone vibrates. No clock demands your attention. No one interrupts the silence. Only the rain continues its patient conversation with the roof. You find yourself breathing more slowly without even trying. Your shoulders feel lighter. Your thoughts begin to spread out like gentle clouds after a busy day. For the first time in a long while, you aren't thinking about what comes next. You're simply enjoying where you are. And somehow, that feels like the greatest luxury of all. The cup of tea warms your hands long after you've stopped thinking about the weather outside. You stand by the window for another minute, watching raindrops slowly race one another down the glass. Every now and then, a gentle breeze nudges the branches of the pine trees, sending tiny showers of water drifting onto the stone paths below. The hotel doesn't feel like a place that was built. It feels like a place that quietly grew here, one peaceful year at a time. The receptionist notices you've finished your tea. She smiles from behind the front desk. "I think your room is waiting." You glance down at the little brass key in your hand. The tiny crescent moon engraved into the wooden tag catches the light from the fireplace. "I still don't know which room it opens," you say with a small laugh. "You'll find out soon enough." She says it so naturally that you stop questioning it. Some places don't need to explain themselves. This seems to be one of them. You thank her, pick up your small overnight bag, and walk toward the staircase. The old wooden steps give a soft creak beneath your feet. Not the sharp, noisy kind. Just enough to remind you that many travelers have climbed these same stairs before you. Halfway up, you pause and look back. From above, the lobby looks even cozier than before. The fire glows warmly. Someone quietly adds another log to the fireplace. The elderly gentleman is still reading, though now his book rests comfortably in his lap, as if he has become lost in thought. Near the window, the chess game has ended. The couple simply sit together, watching the rain without saying a word. It occurs to you that silence isn't empty here. It's shared. Comfortable. Like everyone has silently agreed that the evening deserves to remain peaceful. You continue upstairs. The hallway stretches gently in both directions, lit by small wall lamps that give off a soft golden glow. The carpet beneath your feet is thick enough to muffle every step. Frames hang along the walls. Instead of famous paintings, each one shows a quiet landscape. A snowy cabin beside a frozen lake. A lighthouse standing through a gentle storm. An old bookshop on a rainy afternoon. A mountain meadow covered in wildflowers. Looking at them feels strangely calming, as though each picture carries a memory of somewhere safe. You walk slowly, passing one door after another. None of them have numbers. Only small symbols carved into polished wood. A feather. A pine cone. A lantern. A seashell. A maple leaf. You smile. The receptionist wasn't joking after all. There really are no room numbers. You continue walking without any idea where you're supposed to stop. Then, quite suddenly, one door catches your attention. There is nothing flashy about it. No brighter light. No louder sound. Only a tiny silver crescent moon carved into the center. exactly like the one hanging from your key. You stop. Somehow. You already know. You slip the key into the lock. It turns smoothly, almost effortlessly. The door opens inward with the faint scent of cedar and lavender. For a moment, you simply stand there. The room isn't enormous. It doesn't need to be. Everything inside feels perfectly balanced. A stone fireplace burns quietly in one corner. Its flames move slowly, filling the room with a warm amber glow. Beside it sits a deep armchair covered with a soft wool blanket. A pair of knitted socks has been folded neatly on the footstool, as though someone somehow knew your feet might be cold after the drive. A large bed stands near the window. Its white linen looks impossibly comfortable. Several pillows rest neatly against a wooden headboard polished smooth by time. At the foot of the bed lies a thick quilt stitched together from dozens of tiny fabric squares. No two pieces are exactly alike. It looks handmade, the kind of quilt that has been passed from one generation to the next. Rain taps gently against the window beside the bed. Not loudly, just enough to become part of the room. You walk over and pull the curtain aside. Outside, the forest stretches into darkness. Lanterns glow softly along winding garden paths below. The rain has become even gentler now. Tiny circles ripple across a small pond you hadn't noticed before. Everything feels peaceful, untouched, as though the world beyond the hotel has quietly faded away. You set your bag beside the chair. On a small wooden table rests another surprise. A handwritten note. The paper is thick and cream-colored. The handwriting is careful and elegant. It simply says, "Dear guest. Sleep comes more easily when nothing is chasing it. Tonight, don't try to fall asleep. Simply enjoy being awake. The rest will happen on its own." You read the note twice. Then smile. How many nights have you gone to bed thinking, "I have to fall asleep," only to find yourself lying awake even longer? There is something wonderfully freeing about being told not to try. You fold the note and place it back on the table. Next to it sits a tiny vase filled with fresh lavender. Its gentle fragrance fills the room without overpowering it. Nearby, an old bookshelf holds perhaps 30 or 40 books. Unlike the grand library downstairs, these feel deeply personal. Travel journals, collections of short stories, poetry, nature writing, books about forests, oceans, mountains, stars. You pull one from the shelf. The pages have softened with age. Inside the cover, someone has written, "Read slowly. The words aren't going anywhere." You laugh quietly to yourself. This hotel seems full of gentle reminders that life doesn't need to be rushed. You return the book to its place. Instead, you settle into the armchair beside the fireplace. The warmth reaches you immediately. Outside, another low rumble of thunder rolls across the distant hills. It isn't dramatic. It sounds almost sleepy. The kind of thunder that belongs to summer evenings and cozy blankets. You close your eyes for a moment. The fire crackles softly. Rain whispers against the glass. The wind moves gently through the pine trees. You realize you haven't looked at your phone since arriving. Out of curiosity, you reach into your pocket. It's there. But somehow, you don't feel any desire to check it. No messages seem urgent enough to interrupt this moment. So you switch it off completely. Not because you have to. Because you want to. The silence that follows feels surprisingly wonderful. You lean back in the chair. Your breathing slows. The room grows warmer. The blanket resting across your knees feels pleasantly heavy. For the first time in a very long while, you feel completely present. Not thinking about yesterday. Not worrying about tomorrow. Simply listening. To the rain. To the fire. And to the quiet feeling that somehow, you were always meant to find this place. You don't know how long you've been sitting by the fire. It could have been 10 minutes. It could have been an hour. Time feels different here. Not slower, exactly. Just quieter. The fire continues to crackle with a soft, comforting rhythm, while the rain gently brushes against the window. Every now and then, a distant roll of thunder drifts across the hills, sounding less like a storm and more like the sky settling in for the night. Eventually, you decide to stretch your legs. You slip on your shoes, wrap the soft wool blanket around your shoulders like a shawl, and quietly step back into the hallway. The hotel is even calmer than before. A few lamps remain lit along the corridor, casting warm pools of golden light across the wooden floor. Somewhere below, you hear someone gently laugh. Not loudly. Just one quiet laugh, followed by silence again. It makes the whole building feel alive. You follow the hallway until you notice a door standing slightly open. Warm light spills through the narrow gap. Curious, you knock softly. A gentle voice answers. Please, come in. Inside is a library. Not the large one you saw downstairs. This one is much smaller. More private. There are only a few shelves, each filled with well-loved books. A fire burns in a small stone fireplace. Near the window sits an elderly man wearing a thick gray sweater, carefully placing another log on the fire. He smiles as you enter. I thought someone might wander in. You smile back. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Oh, not at all. He motions toward the empty chair across from him. This room was made for quiet company. You sit down. For a few moments, neither of you says anything. You simply listen. Rain. Fire. Wind. The old man pours 2 cups of warm herbal tea from a small kettle resting near the fireplace. He slides one toward you. It helps on rainy nights. You thank him. The tea smells of chamomile and mint. The first sip is warm and soothing. After another comfortable silence, you finally ask, "How long have you worked here?" The old man chuckles softly. People always ask that. So long that I've stopped counting. His answer makes you smile. Then he looks toward the rain-covered window. Would you like to know the real secret of this hotel? You nod. I think I would. He settles back into his chair. The Hotel of Sleep wasn't built because people needed another place to spend the night. He pauses. It was built because people forgot how to rest. The words linger in the warm room. When life became faster, people began believing that resting had to be earned. They told themselves they'd relax after one more project, after one more promotion, after one more busy week. But another busy week always arrived. He gently stirs his tea. So the hotel waits. For people who have been carrying too much for too long. You look into your cup. His words feel strangely familiar. Everyone who arrives here is tired, he continues. But not always physically. Sometimes they're tired of rushing. Sometimes they're tired of worrying. Sometimes they're simply tired of always feeling that they should be somewhere else. Outside, the rain continues to fall. Soft, patient, unhurried. The hotel doesn't cure anyone, he says with a gentle smile. It only reminds them of something they already knew. And what's that? He looks toward the fire. That peace has always been available. We're just usually too distracted to notice it. Neither of you speaks for a while. The silence feels thoughtful, comfortable, like listening is more important than talking. Eventually, the old man stands. Come with me. He carries a small lantern and leads you through another quiet hallway you hadn't noticed before. At the end is a glass door. Beyond it lies a covered terrace overlooking the forest. The roof above is made entirely of glass. Raindrops dance gently across it, creating 1,000 tiny patterns that shimmer in the lantern light. Several rocking chairs face the trees. Blankets have been folded neatly over each one. You choose a chair near the railing. The old man sits beside you. For a long time, neither of you says a word. The forest breathes quietly. The rain sings overhead. The cool night air carries the scent of wet pine, cedar, and fresh earth. Far below, a narrow stream winds through the trees. Its gentle sound blends perfectly with the rain. The old man smiles. This is my favorite place. I think I understand why. He nods. Most guests think the hotel is the special part. He looks toward the forest. But they're wrong. The special part is finally giving yourself permission to be still. Those words stay with you. You realize that, since arriving, you haven't checked the time once. You haven't worried about tomorrow. You haven't replayed yesterday in your mind. You've simply existed. And somehow, that has been enough. The rain slowly becomes lighter. The clouds begin to drift apart. For just a moment, the moon peeks through an opening in the sky, silver light spilling across the tops of the pine trees. Thousands of raindrops sparkle like tiny stars. The old man quietly stands. I think your room is ready for the rest of the evening. You thank him for the tea, for the conversation, and for sharing the secret of the hotel. He smiles warmly. I didn't share anything. I only reminded you. You walk back through the peaceful hallway. Everything feels even softer now. The lamps seem warmer. The carpet's quieter. The air gentler. Back inside your room, the fire has burned low, leaving only glowing embers. You slip beneath the thick quilt. It feels perfectly warm. Outside, the rain begins again, softer than ever before. You leave the curtains slightly open. The lanterns in the garden glow faintly through the mist. You listen. Rain on the roof. Wind in the trees. A quiet crackle from the fireplace. Somewhere in the distance. One last gentle roll of thunder. Your eyelids grow heavier. Your breathing slows. And just before sleep quietly finds you, one simple thought crosses your mind. Maybe the hotel of sleep isn't hidden in the forest after all. Maybe it appears whenever we finally decide to slow down. To let go of the noise. And to remember that rest isn't something we have to earn. It's something we deserve. So tonight, as the rain continues its gentle song, and the fire fades into a warm, golden glow, may your thoughts become lighter. May your breathing become slower. And may your dreams arrive as gently as this quiet evening. Sleep well, my friend. The hotel of sleep will always leave the porch light on for you. Good night.